10.6% increase. 83,250 in heat and utilities. And again, I just want to stop even there. The efforts by the school department to control utility costs, I believe at this point, you want to comment on that? I know that the money was set aside both for the town and school as a reserve account for utilities, and where does the school department sit at this point in terms of needing for this year, for this fiscal?
Well, we take the offer of a backstop for our utilities from the Finance Committee very seriously. I think that we approach, when we understood that town meeting would potentially approve a Finance Committee recommendation to provide additional money for town and school for utilities. When we learned that, first thing we did was let's see what we can do to not have to take those funds. So I can go through detail if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, but I think, as you know, we instituted very aggressive measures to see if we can limit our utility costs.
You know, just if you could percentages of what we're down in terms of, you know, usage, in terms of natural gas, and I think electricity are probably the two biggest where we've cut down on our usage.
Well, one of the motivating factors we've used, it's been kind of a fun and somewhat controversial approach, has been on a monthly basis we publish on our website the changes in kilowatt hour usage and decatherm usage, which is a way of measuring natural gas at all 5 schools. And there's been a friendly competition amongst the schools to see who can save the most energy on a year-to-year basis. Of the 5 months that we've had this program going, the Hood School has won 3 of the months through the aggressive efforts of their green team, and the high school has won 2 of the other months in terms of the. So it's been we've gotten staff involved, we've gotten students involved, and even though the degree day usage, meaning the way you measure the requirement of heat, has been higher this heating season than last heating season, we are actually have reduced the use of gas. I don't have a specific percentage figure, Mr. Chairman, but I know it to be between 5 and 10%, somewhere in that range, and that can amount to $50,000.
Right.
So we are hoping that through our efforts, we will not be needing any of that Finance Committee reserve figure for energy this year as a result of our efforts.
Great.
So that is a quick recap on the level services budget, and as we see it right now, the FY10 level services budget, which reflects no increases in staff next year, at $24,118,429. So we began from that point back in December, and the next step was to work with the finance planning team that is meeting on a very regular basis and trying to get an up-to-date picture of available funds, because it's the available funds that will determine the available funds budget, and therefore the gap between level services and available funds. And that number has changed, but I guess the easiest way to say it at this point is that the available funds budget, as of a week ago Friday, the last time the finance planning team met on February 13, it appears to be $22,669,490. And I've included some material in the school committee packets that shows a very detailed breakdown prepared by Joe Tassoni, the town's finance director, showing what Chapter 78 will be, or projected to be, what various revenue streams will be in the town, tax collections, various offsets and so forth. And the net at this point is that it appears that the split between the town and the school, or better said, between the school and the town, is probably, of the available funds, about 66% of the available funds will be directed toward the schools.
That's after the upfront, after the costs off the top upfront for health insurance.
After, exactly, after fixed costs are
Right.
taken off. And it means that the school department's budget will grow by some
Actually, if you actually go to our budget number that we approved last year, the increase is a little more than 1%. It's about 1.2%. If you go to the budget number that we're working with now that we've cut 150,000 out of our budget this year, it's 2.5 to 3%. But if you look at the budget we approved, you look at the budget we approved, which was $22,377,445, that's about a $290,000 increase to what we have for next year. So it's about 1.2% or something like that.
And you want to
Good point.
Yeah.
I might add a couple things. First, technically, this is an accounting discussion we're having now. Technically, the school's budget has not been cut.
Right.
Because only town meeting can do that. So technically, we are not spending $150,000 so that it will revert to free cash, so that we don't have a problem. So when you look at the official school budget for this year, it won't show any reduction in it because only town meeting can do that. We're just not spending, through a gentleman's agreement, $150,000.
So it really is a 1.2% or so increase over our budget we approved last year. And when you look at our costs, obviously they're going up a lot faster than 1.2%. So.
How is the 66-34 split derived?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if that's what it's been the last few years. At one point, it was a 60-40 split way back when. I know that's been changing over the years. I don't know if that's what we have this year or not. I'm assuming it's close to that. I don't think there's any, there's no scientific, I don't think there's any scientific measures or methods applied to this to get 66-34.
I think there ought to be.
Right.
There's going to be some basis for it, because it demonstrates your priorities.
I think it's just past practice,
Yeah.
historic.
Right. It's
It should-
historic.
Right.
It took a couple of big jumps a number of years ago when the schools were bailed out.
Right, by the selectmen, like
Right,
2 or
and
3
it-
years ago, we got a really big chunk of money from the selectmen that really moved it up a couple of percentage points.
And then the following year, that's a new basis, so the split
Right.
shifted, and then it happened one more time in the more recent past.
Right.
So it's really a reflection of last year's split, just carried forward.
That's my guess.
I think it reflects an erosion of attention to the schools over the past 20 years. And I think that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, 15 years ago, when I joined the committee, it was a straight 60-40. So to say that our budget grew 6% over 15 years doesn't keep up with the cost or the enrollment growth.
In the town's population over the last 18 years, it may be gone up maybe 15%, but the school population has gone up
Much
about
larger.
50%.
Right.
60%. And that needs to be adjudicated, and there needs to be something done to scientifically or, more technically assign those numbers.
Yeah.
Because I think what we've done is we have enhanced certain services in town and have diminished the education service, and we need to correct that. This is a hard time to do that.
Yeah.
It's not polite to do it now. I'm not interested. Frankly, I'm happy with the services in town. We just can't pay for them all. with the funding that's available. So we need to decide what services are going to get cut to make it appropriate and set our priorities, or reset our priorities.
One of the sad realities, and correct me if I got this wrong, from the finance planning team, if the town union groups take a salary freeze and a 0% cost of living increase, then they will not have any layoffs.
Right. And they'll be able to maintain
Their
all
programs.
Programs, right.
Right? We can't say
You
that.
can't say that. No.
Even if every union group went along with the freeze and the step increases and took a 0 for cost of living, we're still looking at layoffs.
Potential. So we can't even make that guarantee.
One thing that is very important to me, last year when the campaigning was going on before election, there was a particular meeting that I was in where one of the candidates made the statement that is very proud that during his tenure they had never laid off a town employee. Well, that happened to be the same year where we laid off 14 employees from the school system, and those are also town employees.
Right.
So, obviously, it's your mindset and the way you look at things, and I think that, again, I'm pleased with the level of services we have in town. I think they're appropriate. I've pounced a little bit more recently on the Department of Public Works for plowing, but by and large, I think that's an efficient operation. It's just that we have obviously emphasized certain elements in our community, certain services, and we have done a stellar job there, and frankly, we're not doing such a stellar job over here. Not that we're not trying, but we're not being funded to provide that. It needs to be changed.
So David, we have the 22,669,490 number, and then I see fringe benefits add back another 12,000. Is that for positions you're planning on cutting, or?
Let me explain that. And in your packet that went out on Friday, if you want to take that one out, and I believe that it should be coded as of 2/23/09.
Right.
You will remember that when we did the level 1 reductions and the level 2 reductions, any staffing position was calculated based on the salary minus anticipated unemployment. So what Carl and I thought today, that we should redo that sheet and put the actual salary right into the reduction, and then drop at the bottom the anticipated additional unemployment costs.
Oh, so that 12,000 would be what we'd have to put in the budget to cover.
Yes,
unemployment costs.
and then also as a savings, and I think this has been agreed upon by our
Okay,
finance planning team,
Okay.
is that every time, if we are in the position to lose an employee, whether it is because of attrition or because of a straight layoff, that we should recoup the cost of the so-called fringe benefits. Because if we added a new position, if we were in that position, we are always required to account for the benefit. So I've actually recapped that, and for anyone who has the sheet that's dated 2/13/09, you're still going to end up, or you should end up pretty much at the same point. But
David, if you are now, in terms of the positions we have already agreed to cut, you're putting full salaries in there for the full salary of the position we're cutting, correct?
right,
So doesn't that mean you have to increase the level services budget, because you have to put more money in there, and it